Hello goblins! Here we are for the final season of the Lovecraft investigations, as they now call it. I believe it was always envisioned as a 3-act structure. So Shadow over Innsmouth is Act 3, the final act. And it's also worth noting that it takes the biggest departure from the source material. So if you were hoping for a faithful rendition of Shadow over Innsmouth, you're not going to get it, I'm afraid. It's an awesome season, but it kind of takes Shadow over Innsmouth's story as its distant history and sort of moves on from there. Alright, I am going to be making a stem, I'm in the middle of doing that, for this snail fellow. That's what I'm going to be doing. So without further ado, Episode 1, Shadow over Innsmouth.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
This podcast includes strong language.
If you're joining us for the first time, I strongly recommend jumping back to the beginning of Season 1 and listening through to where we are now.
So, what has prompted this sudden interest in your ancestry, Charles?
I don't think it's sudden. Does it seem sudden?
Well, perhaps it's just new to me.
I want to know who I am.
In the sense that...
In every sense. I don't think I'm the person they think I am.
Who's they?
People. You. My family.
Your family don't know who you are?
My mother did. But she lied.
What did she lie about, Charles?
I was up in the attic and I found something. She had one of those old files, you know, those things that stretch out?
A concertina file?
Her birth certificate was in there. My grandfather, her father, that's not the name on the birth certificate.
What's the name?
Joseph Kerwin.
That was an archive clip of the young Charles Dexter Ward talking to his psychiatrist, Dr. Willett. That clip appears right near the beginning of Episode 1 of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. We didn't realise it back then, but everything we uncovered in Season 1 threaded through into Season 2, and the journey we've been on, a journey that started out as a simple investigation into the disappearance of a young man from a mental health facility in Rhode Island, has brought us to where we are now. Before beginning this third series, I went back over some of that old audio material. And that's when I really started to pay attention to the strange noise that intrudes into that clip. At the time, we had thought it was just an audio artifact on an old tape, a bit of dirt or the ghost of an older recording. But in light of everything that has happened since then, I felt it merited further investigation. But that was just one thing on the to-do list as we started to put Season 3 together. Our investigations had taken us from Rhode Island to Iraq to the Suffolk countryside, and at the same time, the path we were on seemed to have turned inward. If we were going to find any answers, I now believed we were going to have to start looking closer to home, into areas that were a lot more personal to both of us.
Are you shitting me?
Don't think so.
You want to investigate me?
You're investigating you.
No, I'm investigating long-dead members of my extended family.
To get answers about who you are now.
I know who I am now.
Kennedy and I were in the cafe across the road from the studio. This was towards the end of The Whisperer in Darkness, during the course of which Kennedy had discovered a possible family connection to the conspiracy we'd uncovered.
Can I just jump in here and say that this was not a present-day thing?
I think jumping in on narration of a scene that we're both in is going to be a bit confusing for the listeners.
Then can we please make it clear that no one in my currently alive or even remotely recently deceased family was involved in any kind of occult conspiracy?
Because your mum listens to this.
She actually does.
Hi, Mrs. Fisher. Is she going to put a curse on us now?
Fine. Narrate your bit. But can you just make it clear that this is me digging into ancient history?
Yeah, fine.
As opposed to you flying out to live and die in Iraq with me as the murderer.
That is absolutely not what I'm doing, but there are questions that need answering. We want to know what happened to Barbara Sayers, don't we?
I am indifferent.
No, you're not.
Okay, better question. Is it a good idea to split focus like this?
Meaning?
Like, are we now just people seeking the truth, or are we making a podcast series?
Can we be both?
I don't know. You going out to Baghdad and Mosul and figuring out who killed Barbara Sayers, that could be cool. In like a serial / making a murderer kind of way.
Right.
And me looking into this weird occult family history I supposedly have. That's a podcast, right?
But are they both the same podcast?
Is my point. How do they fit together? How is this one story? And we don't have the hook. Charles Dexter Ward vanished from a locked room. Henry Akeley sends a bunch of spooky letters and then disappears.
Well, the hook is Charles Dexter Ward through Henry Akeley into this. It's a direct continuation.
Yeah, but is that...
Are you worried about what I'm going to find?
in Iraq? No.
Okay,
I just think
because
it's kind of lame.
we can set it up. When we do the out to this series, we say you're off to, what's the place?
Innsmouth.
And I'm heading to Iraq.
Okay. Does that not just sound like next week on the holiday program?
Oh, it doesn't have to sound like that.
You don't find it self-indulgent?
No, I don't think so.
I'm worried about people unsubscribing in droves as I climb back up my family tree and you wander around the desert like fucking Denham Elliott in Last Crusade.
That's harsh.
Has anyone seen a murderer?
Kennedy's misgivings notwithstanding, we both knew there was more to the story we'd been uncovering. We wanted answers, and I'm sure you want answers too. And we have found some. That's the good news. The bad news is, you're not going to sleep any better for knowing them. I'm Matthew Hayward, and this is The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Hello?
Hey, it's me.
Hey,
Did you get my message?
about episode 9, yeah, I listened to it. It's very weird.
If you've listened to the bonus episode on the end of the last series, you will know what this is about. After we put up the 8 episodes of The Whisperer in Darkness, a 9th episode was uploaded by someone else. At first, we thought it was a corrupted audio file put up by mistake, but then we had someone take a look at it, and it turned out that the file contained a hidden message. We had the message decoded, kind of. It's an audio illusion. Once you know what it's saying, you can hear it. The message says, "I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free."
It's a Michelangelo quote, apparently.
What does that have to do with anything?
No idea. But you didn't call me back, so...
No, sorry, the phone service here is just terrible.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Where are you now?
I'm up near Mosul.
Found anything?
It's early days. How about you?
I'm on a bus.
You're on a bus?
The bus from Newburyport to Innsmouth really is the only way to travel. At least it is on our budget.
Do you know where you're going to be staying?
A hotel called the Gilman House. It's either an incredible bargain or a total dive.
Okay, listen, let me know when you get there, okay? I'll talk to you later.
Is that her?
Yeah.
She alright?
Yeah, she's fine. My contact in Iraq was with me. He'd been very helpful tracking Kennedy's movements when she went missing. He works with military intelligence, and so to maintain his anonymity, I'm going to refer to him here as Jasper. Right now, Jasper and I are standing on the banks of the Tigris in a place called Al-Qayara, about an hour south of Mosul.
This is where they found Barbara Sayers.
And she'd washed up here?
No. Now that's what I thought. Turns out she was buried right here on the riverbank.
Is this a good place to bury a body?
No. It's a terrible place. The ground's loose, the wind blows the topsoil off. She was only about 2 feet down, just a matter of time before she was found.
Okay.
But the spot has some advantages.
Well, it's out of town.
Yeah,
And it's low down. We're hidden from the road here.
exactly. You can dig fast through this kind of earth, and you can plant a body quickly without anyone seeing you. At least at night you can.
But it's temporary.
It's amateur.
Okay.
It's first timer. panicking perhaps because she didn't intend to kill anyone, but calm enough to at least cover her tracks long enough to get clear of the area.
You're saying she. I don't think we should jump to any conclusions.
This bus journey seems to have been going on for most of my life, and I have never wished for a crappy rental car as much as I do now. Somewhere there's a hole or a leak or something, because the smell of diesel in here is kind of overpowering. And I'm pretty sure there isn't a country in the world where this vehicle would be considered legal. When we started out in Newburyport, there were 5 passengers, me plus 4. 3 got off in a place called Rowley, and the remaining guy got off at an intersection a few miles back to catch a connecting bus to Ipswich. So now it's just me and the driver, who tells me he's an Innsmouth native. That's about as much as I managed to get out of him, and he has resolutely refused to be interviewed on record. He's a strange-looking guy, completely bald with a kind of flat nose and wide mouth and eyes that seem a little too far apart. I'm passing no judgment here, but it does cause you to wonder what goes on in the gene pool of a town so remote there's only one bus out of it, and that only runs twice a week.
We get back into the pickup truck that Jasper has borrowed from a civilian friend, and he drives me into Mosul. I wanted to visit the place where Barbara Sayers was last seen, getting into a car with a woman who looked, on grainy dashcam footage at least, like Kennedy Fisher.
All right. So I've seen the footage, but this is the first time I'm seeing the place for real. Let me get my bearings.
We're not quite in the centre of town, but this is nonetheless a fairly busy area. It's a crossroads, and there are cafes and businesses here, and a market set up along one of the streets.
I reckon the taxi with the camera on it was just about over there, which means the car Barbara Sayers and our mystery girl got into was parked about there.
Did the cab driver say what he was doing?
How do you mean?
Well, was he waiting for someone, or was he taking a break?
No, he was dropping a fare off. That all checked out. I don't think the cab driver is the pertinent factor here.
No, I'm just... any clue, you know. The car that Barbara Sayers got into was parked outside a cafe which has a grocery shop next to it and what seemed to be offices above.
The dashcam clock says it was 7 minutes past 11 in the evening.
Jasper shows me the dashcam video again on his tablet computer. I've looked at it a number of times already, but it's a different experience actually standing on the spot where it was taken. The taxi is parked about 30 yards away from the target car and across the street. In the video, Barbara Sayers and her companion appear from the edge of frame. It's impossible to tell where they came from because the cafe and the shop are out of shot. What's also out of shot is the driver's side of the car. Barbara and the other woman, who really does look like Kennedy Fisher, both get into the back of the car, which means someone else was driving, someone we can't see. The car then pulls away and drives almost immediately out of shot. You never see the driver, and you can't make out the license plate. So it's late, but they're walking from that direction, so where are they coming from? Is that shop open at night?
I'm going to find out. Wait right here.
Yeah. This street doesn't seem to have anything special about it. There's no hotel, so it can't have been where Barbara Sayers was staying. Maybe she was meeting someone in that cafe, or maybe in the rooms above, the offices or whatever they are. But if a taxi here had a dashboard camera... Looking around that street, it occurred to me that there might be other businesses with security cameras. Maybe one of them recorded the street from a better angle that night. I walked up and down, looking in the various shops for signs of CCTV. Right across from the cafe, I found a place that was selling mobile phones and computer equipment. I figured that was a good bet. Oh, hi. Hello. Do you speak English?
والله العظيم أنا آسف ما بحكي إنجليزي.
Okay, excuse me one moment.
There you are.
Hey.
You've been snatched. That shop over there closes at 6, so they weren't coming out of there.
Right.
Upstairs there's a property company and some kind of newspaper office. Both been there years, and the woman in the shop says no one up there ever works late.
Okay, so they were coming from the cafe. I've got a possibility here. I reckon this phone shop has security cameras, and they'd have a better angle on that car. But the guy doesn't speak English.
All right. Let's check it out. No. You can wait here.
Okay.
Going in there more panded and you recording everything might freak the poor bloke out.
Right. Jasper was inside for a few minutes, which gave me a chance to look over the cafe across the street. It was a small place with a few tables on the pavement, a couple of older guys drinking coffee and talking. It looked like a pretty run-of-the-mill neighbourhood coffee shop.
It's got a camera in the window that covers the whole street.
Yeah, but
he already gave the hard drive to the police.
Well, we know some people.
It wasn't the cops. I already talked to my guy here. That dash cam footage is the only video they've got.
Could it have been mislaid?
I don't think so. I mean, these guys aren't well resourced, but they're as good at their jobs as anyone.
So, corruption. Someone paid them off.
Maybe. It's actually more likely that someone posing as a cop just went in there and took the guy's hard drive.
Well, that's not Kennedy.
And she would have a hard time posing as an Iraqi police officer.
So, it was the real killer?
Or an accomplice. Whoever was driving the car, maybe, or some third party.
Either way, we're looking at a conspiracy, right?
In the sense of more than one person being involved? Maybe. Probably. But not necessarily a conspiracy in the sense of the stories you and Kennedy tell.
No, I realise that.
Good. Because you need to keep an open mind, mate. And that doesn't just mean accepting bogeymen or aliens or whatever.
No, I hardly
It means
think
being open to the idea that your friend killed Barbara Sayers.
Thanks.
Okay, so Innsmouth. Innsmouth is a surprise. I was really expecting this rundown seaside fishing place in the ass end of nowhere. And while it's certainly quite a long way from anything resembling a beaten track, this is nice. It's almost like stepping into a really well-preserved museum exhibit. The whole place seems spotlessly clean. The buildings are easily 100 years old, but they've all been maintained really well, and there's an air of gentrification about the place. As we were driving in, I could see these big houses on the cliffs above the town, like private estates. There's money here. I was expecting a forgotten place, but this is not that. If anything, this is a place that's hiding because it doesn't want anyone to know how good it's got things. It's pretty empty, though. It's just after 7 o'clock in the evening, and there are no cars, no one on the street. I'm not seeing much in the way of bars or restaurants. Maybe it's just one of those places where people keep themselves to themselves. The Gilman House Hotel was a 10-minute walk from where the bus dropped me off. The main entrance was in the town square. I'd been expecting, mainly because of the room rates, that the Gilman would be a poor excuse for a hotel. What it actually was, though, was a really charming little boutique place that must have been done up fairly recently and was easily one of the nicer hotels I'd visited. Hi, I'm checking in.
Miss Fisher?
Is that a good guess, or...?
We don't have many visitors off-season. We've been expecting you. My name is Casey.
Hi.
Do you have some ID?
Sure. 1 second. Casey took me through the check-in procedure and then directed me to a room on the top floor, which he said was their best room. I had no idea if that was true, but... Wow. Okay. This might actually be the best room in the hotel. It's huge. There's a bed area, and then a sofa, a coffee table, flat screen TV, an actual coffee machine. The bathroom is bigger than my apartment. Wow, again. That is a view. The sun is nearly down, so I can't see too much, but this room looks right out across the town to the harbor. I have no idea if that's still a going concern, but there are a few boats down there. Maybe just private cruising things. Again, no one around by the look of it. And apparently, I'm the only person staying in this hotel, which is kind of creepy, but at least I'll get served at the bar. I wanted to get the lay of the land, so I decided to head out for a walk before it got fully dark. Okay, so the hotel is right on the town square. Across from it, there's a building that looks kind of like maybe a town hall or some kind of community building. Still no one around. I'm gonna have some things to say on TripAdvisor about the nightlife in this place. So, yeah. This building is all locked up, and it does look like some kind of municipal affair. Hopefully there'll be someone around in the morning, because this looks like the kind of place that might hold town records. Hard to know where to go, really. I asked Casey at the front desk if he had a map, but he said no one had printed one. Apparently people like to explore. But what people? Okay, so let's try Circuit. I'm heading north out of the square along Federal Street. Coming up to a bridge. Still no people. Not even any lights on in any of these buildings. But I guess maybe this is a commercial area. Okay, so the bridge goes over the river, and this must be the Monuxet River, which comes out right by the harbor. At the other side of the bridge, on the corner of Dock Street, there was a large stone building that looked a little older than anything around it. At first glance, I thought it was a church, but closer inspection suggested it was something more administrative. Then I realized, not having been in America for a while, that this was going to be the local Masonic Hall. Pretty much every town in this part of the world has them. At this point, I'm just looking for any sign that people actually live in this town. But this does look promising. The door has been recently painted, but there are signs of wear, where it's been pushed open. If nothing else, the masons in Innsmouth seem active. There should be a plaque with some kind of identification. Huh. That's weird. There's no plaque that I can see, but I'm looking at an inscription carved into the stone by the door. It's pretty old and worn. And I was expecting it to identify the name of the lodge or whatever, but some of it is so faded that it's impossible to make out. But what I can read is Esoteric Order of, I think that's a D-A? Dagon? Esoteric Order of Dagon. Okay, whatever. I'll see if Casey at the hotel has any clue about it. What's that for? Who needs a church bell to sound at 10 to 9 in the evening? Okay. If I carry on along Dock Street, that should be a clue. That will presumably follow the river along to the sea. Seriously? No one? No one has a dog that needs walking or a takeout to collect? It's dinner time, people. Let's see some life here. Dock Street led me down to Water Street, which led me to wonder who'd been given the responsibility of naming places in Innsmouth. Water Street ran north-south along the coast. The light was really starting to fade, so I turned south, crossed back over the river, and then made a right along South Street, which I thought would bring me back into the town square. Then I realized I'd overshot, that South Street was actually quite far south, and so I started winding through back streets, heading northwest in what I hoped was the direction of the hotel. This area seems to be mostly dockside buildings and warehouses. I have no idea what they're used for now. You'd expect them to be falling down or else have been converted into apartments or business premises or whatever. These seem to have just been preserved. Empty. Hello? Is someone there? I am not getting freaked out by someone out for a walk. Hello?
Jasper and I went into the cafe across the street. There was a very good chance that this is where Barbara Sayers and her companion were, directly before they got into the car. We were hoping, though I think we both knew it was a long shot, that someone there might have seen something that night.
I'm pretty sure the police will have asked around in here.
Well, maybe they don't talk to the police.
No, they'll talk to the cops before they talk to a couple of British blokes.
Yeah. Jasper said it was a good idea to sit down and get some coffee, rather than just barge in and start asking questions. So we took a table by the window and ordered some drinks.
Does this place feel off to you?
Off? How?
I don't know. There's an atmosphere.
No, I don't think I'd pick it up. It's all pretty strange to me.
And you develop a sense after you've been here a while of places that are okay and places that might turn nasty.
You think this could turn nasty?
No, that's not what I mean. Now, this place isn't either of those things. It just doesn't feel like it's part of the world.
Okay.
God. Sound like I'm on your podcast.
You are on my podcast.
I'll shut up.
Talking of weird, though, you see that sign by the door?
What sign?
I'd noticed it as we were walking in, and now, from where I was sitting, I could see it through the window. An unusual symbol had been carved into the stone wall beside the door. It looked like a man holding a trident with the tail of a fish where his legs should be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no idea. You see it about, though, especially up around this part of the country. Some kind of superstitious thing, I think. Dogon or Dagon.
قهوة سادة قهوة مع حليب شوكولاتة طاولة.
شكرا جزيلا.
عفوا.
I thought you were going to talk to him.
I am going to talk to him, but first we're going to drink our coffee and let them all get a little more used to us being here.
All right, well, I'm going to record some background atmos then, which will come in handy at some point.
You need me to do something?
No, I'm just going to move the recorder around a bit, get the sounds of the place.
All right, well, be subtle. We could do without anyone thinking you're eavesdropping on them.
This is an atmos of the cafe in Mosul.
Coffee. Small. Black.
Whoa, no sudden movements. Not good.
But I wasn't listening to Jasper because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked across the room and saw her. She must have entered through the internal door by the bar. I'd already started moving across the room when she looked at me. We both froze. Then she ran.
Wait!
The sun hit my eyes and blinded me as I came out of that dark space. It took a few seconds for me to get my bearings, and by that time the alleyway behind the cafe was empty.
Oh, shit. Matt! The hell is going on?
I didn't want to tell him because I knew how insane it would sound. And already I was starting to question what I'd seen because it simply wasn't possible. But she'd turned to me. She'd looked right at me, and I'd seen her face clearly before she ran. The woman in the cafe was Kennedy Fisher.
All right, that was episode 1. I'm only going to do one episode at a time because these are the last ones, so when they're gone, they're gone. So that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed that. Strange things afoot, as always. All right. I will see you again for episode 2 next Monday. 10 o'clock GMT. Until then, take it very easy. Your loyal pipe maker.